The power universe was never built to stay small. From the very beginning, it was about ambition, control, and survival in a world where power is always taken, never given. New York City was the foundation, the birthplace of everything that followed. It was where Ghost learned how to rise, where Tommy learned how to survive, and where the rules of the game were written in blood. But as time passed, it became clear that the story could not stay locked in one place. Power was always meant to expand, just like the drug trade itself. When one city becomes too tight, the game moves elsewhere. That is exactly what is happening now. The idea of a multi-city power universe changes everything. This is no longer just about street corners or single territories. This is about networks, connections, and influence stretching across states. Every city has its own rules, its own dangers, and its own kind of power. Some cities move fast and violent. Others operate quietly through money, politics, and influence. What connects them all is the hunger for control and the people willing to do anything to get it. The expansion isn't random. Each new location represents a different side of the same criminal world. At the center of this evolution is the idea that power never dies, it only changes form. Old players may disappear, but their impact remains. New players rise, but they carry the weight of past decisions. The multi-city expansion allows the story to show how one choice in one city can destroy lives in another. A deal made in New York can spark chaos in Chicago. A betrayal in Atlanta can echo all the way to Los Angeles. This connected structure turns the power universe into a living system where everything is linked. This shift also changes how stories are told. Instead of focusing on a single rise or fall, the narrative becomes larger and more complex. Different cities represent different struggles. Some fight for survival, some for respect, others for control of empires worth millions. Each location adds depth, tension, and new stakes. The world becomes more dangerous but also more exciting. Because anything can happen and no one is truly safe. At the heart of this expansion is the idea that power looks different depending on where you stand. In some cities, power comes from fear. In others, it comes from influence, money, or connections. The multi-city structure allows the story to explore these differences without losing its core identity. Every location has its own rules, but they all answer to the same hunger for dominance. This is what keeps the universe connected and alive. The beauty of this approach is how it allows characters to grow beyond their original environments. Someone who once ruled a single block can now become a player on a national level. The streets are no longer the final battlefield. Boardrooms, politics, and backroom deals become just as dangerous as guns and violence. Power evolves, and those who cannot adapt are left behind. As the story spreads across cities, alliances become fragile. Trust becomes rare. Characters who were once enemies may need each other to survive. Others may turn on former allies to protect their own rise. This constant shifting of loyalty keeps the story unpredictable. No one is safe and no one is fully in control. Every decision carries consequences that stretch far beyond one city. This expansion also deepens the emotional side of the story. Characters are forced to choose between family and ambition, loyalty and survival. Distance creates pressure. Separation creates weakness. And the further the empire spreads, the harder it becomes to protect what truly matters. This emotional weight is what keeps the story grounded, even as it grows larger and more complex. As the power universe expands, the idea of legacy becomes more important than ever. Every major figure leaves something behind, good or bad, that shapes what comes next. Some leave fear. Some leave inspiration. Others leave chaos. The new generation does not start from nothing. They inherit the consequences of those who came before them. This is what makes the expansion so dangerous. The past is never truly gone. Each city carries echoes of earlier stories. Old rivalries resurface in new forms. Old mistakes create new enemies. Even when characters believe they have escaped their past, it finds a way back. This creates a powerful sense of continuity, making the universe feel alive and connected. The past is not a memory, it is a shadow that follows every move. As power spreads, the line between hero and villain becomes thinner. Characters are forced to make impossible choices, often choosing the lesser of two evils. Morality becomes flexible. Survival becomes the priority. This moral gray area is what defines the power universe and keeps viewers emotionally invested. No one is completely right or wrong. Everyone is fighting for something they believe in. The expansion also allows for deeper storytelling. We see how different environments shape different kinds of leaders. Some rule through fear, others through respect. Some through money and others through strategy. Each city becomes a character of its own, influencing the people within it. Together, they form a massive network where every move matters. As the power universe continues to grow, the stakes rise higher than ever before. The expansion is not just about adding new locations, it's about building a connected world, where every action has consequences. One decision in one city can trigger chaos in another. This interconnected design makes the story richer, more intense, and more unpredictable. The future of the power universe lies in how these cities collide. When different power structures clash, the results are explosive. Alliances will form across borders, and betrayals will come from unexpected places. Characters will be forced to choose between loyalty and survival, between power and family. These choices will define who rises and who falls. What makes this era of power so compelling is its scale. It feels bigger, darker, and more ambitious than ever before. The story is no longer confined to one struggle, it's a full-scale war for control, influence, and legacy. Every move matters. Every decision echoes across cities. And no one is ever truly safe. This is not just the next chapter of power. It is the evolution of the entire universe. A world where the past and present collide, where power is constantly shifting, and where the fight for control never ends. The game has changed, and only those strong enough to adapt will survive what comes next. The expansion of the power universe changes everything because it turns the story from a local struggle into a nationwide battle for dominance. When the focus moves beyond one city, the rules no longer stay simple. Every location has its own rhythm, its own power structure, and its own way of surviving. Some cities thrive on chaos, while others operate quietly behind polished walls and hidden deals. This shift forces every character to adapt or disappear. What once worked on one street no longer works when the game spreads across borders. Power becomes less about muscle and more about influence, timing, and control over information. This is where the story grows deeper, darker, and far more dangerous. As the network expands, the idea of loyalty becomes more complicated. In a single city, loyalty is often personal, built on shared history or blood ties. But across multiple cities, loyalty becomes strategic. People align not because they trust each other, but because they need each other. Alliances are formed not out of friendship, but necessity. This creates a world where everyone is constantly calculating their next move. One wrong decision can collapse an entire operation. One wrong alliance can destroy years of work. The pressure is constant, and there is no safe ground. Each city introduces a new style of power. Some thrive on intimidation and violence, where fear keeps everything in line. Others rely on money, politics, and influence hidden behind clean appearances. These differences create tension when worlds collide. A character who dominates one city may become weak in another. Strength in one environment can turn into vulnerability in another. This contrast forces characters to evolve or fall behind. The game is no longer about being the strongest, it's about being the smartest. As the story expands, the emotional weight grows heavier. Distance changes relationships. Characters are separated from the people they trust, forced to rely on strangers with unclear intentions. Communication becomes risky. Information becomes a weapon. Every call, every meeting, every deal carries the possibility of betrayal. This constant pressure shapes the characters, pushing them to make choices they never thought they would. The further the story spreads, the harder it becomes to protect what truly matters. The multi-city expansion also deepens the sense of consequence. Actions taken in one place do not stay contained. A decision made in one city can destroy lives in another without warning. This interconnected structure raises the stakes for everyone involved. There are no isolated problems anymore, everything is connected. Every move sends ripples across the entire network. This creates a sense of inevitability, where characters feel trapped by the very empire they helped build. At its core, this expansion is about transformation. It shows how power reshapes people over time. Some grow colder, more calculating. Others become reckless, driven by ego or fear. The world no longer allows innocence or hesitation. Survival depends on adaptability. Those who refuse to change are left behind, while those who evolve become something new, something dangerous. This stage of the story proves that power is not just about control over territory. It is about control over people, information, and fear. As the universe grows, the lines between ally and enemy blur. Trust becomes rare. Loyalty becomes temporary. And the game becomes far more unforgiving. This is where the true cost of power is revealed, and where the future of the entire empire begins to take shape. As the power universe expands across multiple cities, the meaning of legacy begins to shift in powerful ways. Legacy is no longer just about what someone builds in one place. It becomes about how far their influence travels and how long it survives after they are gone. In this new phase, characters are no longer judged only by their actions in the present but by the ripple effects those actions create across cities, families, and generations. Every move carries weight because the consequences no longer stay contained. A single decision can change the direction of multiple lives in different locations at the same time. The idea of legacy becomes especially dangerous because it traps characters between past and future. Many are haunted by the choices of those who came before them, forced to clean up unfinished business or continue paths they never chose. Old names still carry power, even when the people behind them are gone. Reputations travel faster than people, and sometimes they arrive before the truth does. This creates a world where characters must fight not only for control but also for identity. They must decide whether to live in the shadow of old empires or destroy them completely. As the story stretches across cities, the past refuses to stay buried. Old alliances resurface, old enemies return, and unfinished rivalries ignite again in new environments. The expansion gives those past conflicts new life and higher stakes. What once felt like personal grudges now become full-scale power struggles. A mistake made years ago in one city can trigger chaos somewhere else entirely. This constant collision between past and present creates an atmosphere where no one ever feels safe or settled. The emotional weight of legacy also shapes the next generation. Younger characters grow up surrounded by stories of power, fear, and survival. They inherit expectations they never asked for. Some try to escape the shadows of those who came before them, while others embrace them, believing power is their birthright. This struggle between destiny and choice becomes one of the most powerful forces in the story. The question is no longer just who will rule, but who deserves to dot as the universe expands. The idea of family becomes more complex. Blood ties are tested by ambition. Loyalty is challenged by opportunity. People are forced to choose between protecting their own and securing their future. In this world, love can be both a weakness and a weapon. Trust is rare, and betrayal often comes from the closest places. These emotional conflicts deepen the story, making every victory feel costly and every loss feel permanent. The growth of the power universe also changes how conflict unfolds. Battles are no longer just physical confrontations. They are psychological, strategic, and emotional. Power is exercised through influence, manipulation, and long-term planning. Those who understand this thrive, while those who rely only on strength fall behind. This evolution makes the story richer and more unpredictable, pushing characters into moral gray areas where right and wrong blur together. By expanding the world and connecting multiple cities, the story transforms into something larger than any single character. It becomes a living system where every action matters and every choice leaves a mark. The past, present, and future are constantly colliding, shaping a world where power is always shifting and nothing is ever truly finished. This is the stage where legacies are tested, identities are forged, and the true cost of power is finally revealed. As the power universe reaches this stage, everything becomes more dangerous because the lines between control and chaos completely disappear. The expansion into multiple cities does not just increase the scale of the story, it multiplies the risks. Every decision now carries weight far beyond its original location. A move made in one city can collapse an entire network somewhere else. Power is no longer something that can be managed alone. It demands constant awareness, constant calculation, and an understanding that one wrong step can trigger a chain reaction no one can stop. What makes this phase especially intense is how power begins to shift away from individuals and into systems. No single person truly controls everything anymore. Instead, power flows through networks of influence, money, fear, and loyalty. Characters may think they are in charge, but they are often just pieces inside a much larger machine. This creates a dangerous illusion of control. People believe they are winning while unknowingly becoming tools in someone else's plan. The more the empire grows, the harder it becomes to see who is really pulling the strings. As cities become more connected, trust becomes rare and fragile. Information moves faster than ever, and secrets never stay hidden for long. One leaked detail, one careless conversation, or one act of betrayal can collapse entire alliances. Characters are forced to live with constant paranoia, never fully sure who is watching or listening. Every relationship is tested, and even the strongest bonds begin to crack under pressure. Survival now depends not only on strength but on awareness and restraint. The expansion also changes the meaning of power itself. It is no longer just about controlling territory or eliminating rivals. True power comes from influence, knowing when to act, when to wait, and when to let others destroy themselves. Those who understand this rise quietly, while those who chase dominance openly often fall the fastest. The smartest players learn to move in the shadows, shaping outcomes without being seen. In this world, silence can be more powerful than violence. As the empire stretches across cities, the emotional cost becomes heavier. Characters are forced to sacrifice pieces of themselves to survive. Morals blur. Lines between right and wrong fade. What once felt unthinkable becomes necessary. The constant pressure to stay ahead leaves no room for weakness. And even moments of peace feel temporary. Everyone is fighting not just for power, but for control over their own future. This stage of the story shows that expansion always comes with a price. The bigger the empire grows, the more fragile it becomes. Every new connection adds strength, but also creates another point of failure. Power becomes a balancing act between ambition and restraint. Those who fail to adapt are consumed by the very system they helped build. In the end, the greatest threat is not an enemy from the outside, but the weight of the empire itself pressing inward. This phase sets the foundation for what comes next. The board is fully set. The players are in position. The rules have changed and there is no turning back. The world of power has grown beyond control, and only those who understand the cost of power will survive what comes next.